All praises. I want to start off with saying, Call halal Yahweh Bahashem Mashiach Yahweh Shai, which is all praises to the Heavenly Father through His Son Yahweh Shai, which the world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ. I want to welcome you guys back, all back to my series, When I Was a Slave, the Biblical Proof for Israelites Breakdown. I am Tony of Judah, all praises to the Most High, and we'll be going over the interview number 6 today, Julia Brown. Just a little background information, that these breakdowns, I'll be using these backgrounds to provide that the biblical proof of the slaves that are in the Americas Slavery Captivity are the Israelites. Salaki. And I'll be using the Holy Scriptures, aka the Holy Bible, which I'll be using to correlate between the Ancient Israelites and the so-called Black Indigenous people of color, that we also known as BIPOC, who are the lost chosen people that are covenant to serve the Most High God. So I like to always give a little background on the authorship of When I Was a Slave. So if this is your first video, welcome, and let's get to it. So during the 1930s, the U.S. economy went into a Great Depression, and Esau, which is, the Edomites, considered it to be one of the most devastating economic crises that this country, the United States, has ever experienced. So during that time, the federal government, under the administration of the Franklin D. Roosevelt, they created a wide range of programs for economic recovery. And one of those groups that they created was called the Work Progress Administration, and it's called the WPA for short, which was like a short, it was like a little short collection of slave narratives and a group of autobiographical accounts of former slaves, and it was compiled in 17 states during the years of 1936 through 1938. And the collection consists of more than 2,000 interviews from former slaves. But this is where it's really important, because these interviews, most of them were first-person accounts of slave life and respondents, and the reactions to them being in bondage, and after they were released as ex-slaves, and had the opportunity to have an interview where they can give their personal accounts of their slave life, and to describe in their own words what it felt like to be a slave in the United States. So set the dinner table, and now let's eat Israel.
La 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 ba ba da ba ba da da ba 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 da 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 ba da.
All right, all praises, all praises. I'd like to start off with, going over a little bit of background information before we jump into the actual interview, and so we can set kind of like the foundation of the importance of how the Holy Scriptures, the Holy Bible, correlates with the Ancient Israelites, the people of God, the only people that the Most High God has chosen to make his chosen, and his seed of the promise, and all of the glory and the gifts are for the Israelites. So let me just start off with, let's go to Romans 9:3, just so we can understand that regardless of what you've learned before, that we're going to go through each one of these scriptures to declare exactly what the Lord's words are, by using the Lord's words instead of our feelings and what we've been taught from the words of man. So this is Romans 9:3. For I wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites? And this is so important. This is in the New Testament, and if a lot of people, they want to throw away the Old Testament, which is completely foolish, because who can start a book halfway through? Actually, 2/3 of the way through, because they skip over the Old Testament and the Apocrypha, and they just want to deal with the New Testament. So within the New Testament, it just quotes everything from the Old Testament. That's first lesson to be taught. But like we were saying, the Israelites are the only people that the Most High God has given any grace and repentance, and everything is for the Israelites. And the Gentiles that were in the New Testament are Israelites. We're going to go through the curses. So this series is going to go through a series of identifiers and curses that shows you the quantifying evidence to state that the ancient Israelites that had the covenant with the Most High God are the people of Black, Indigenous, and people of color that we see today. So the so-called Black man, the so-called Caribbean man, the so-called Native Americans, so-called Hispanics, so-called, and that's in the Western Hemisphere. So indigenously, anywhere that these curses have they fall upon them, that's where the Israelites will be. So to continue, who are Israelites? To whom pertaineth the adoption, which is the grafting back in, the glory, which is the kingdom to come, the covenants, which includes, this is with the S, is plural. So the old covenant and the new covenant, and the new covenant is only for the house of Judah and Israel, which is the northern and southern kingdom, and they're being grafted back in. So those new promises to the covenants to come, those are only for the Israelites. And the giving of the law. So the only people that made a covenant with the Most High God were the Israelites in captivity. So it follows that in Romans, it shows you playing upon tables that the Israelites were given the law and the service of God. So no other nation should be dealing with the Holy Scriptures. No other nation does the Most High God even recognize as being anything other than dust on a scale. And the service of God and the promises. So all the promises that were made to our forefathers, they still belong to us and only us. Whose are the fathers, of whom as concerning the flesh Christ came. So it's not a spiritual thing. It literally is about your descendancy and your ethnicity. And it's only befallen the Israelites, who are the descendants of the progenitor Jacob, who changed his name into Israel, which is our forefather. If you are a Black, Hispanic, or Native born that meets the criteria of the Deuteronomy curses and the Levitical curses that were to befall the Israelites if they were to keep or to break the commandments of the Most High God, and who is over all, God bless forever, amen. So just wanted to establish off the top that everything that would be befallen would be for the Israelites. So now let's move into the first book of Deuteronomy. So you can see that in the very first book of Deuteronomy that the Most High God is speaking only to the children of Israel, and Moses is the individual who compiled the Torah, right? The first 5 books of the Mosaic Law. So he wrote Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So, and they were all titled to the Israelites. So Deuteronomy 1:1, these be the words which Moses spake unto all the Israel on this side of Jordan, in the wilderness, in the plain over against the Red Sea, between Paran, Tophel, and Laban, and Hazeroth, and Disabab. So as you can see, that as any book or any instruction, it has an audience. So the audience that Moses is speaking to in all senses is the children of Israel. So anything that's being spoke to pertaining any of the laws are directed straight to Israel. And so with that being said, you've seen that the Most High God has made all of his promises and the service of God, the law, they all go back to the Israelites. And now we have a conundrum. So how do you determine who the Israelites are? So let's go into, and are the Israelites an ancient people that no longer exist, or do they just disappear after a point in time? So let's see what the Lord says about people. We can go into, I want to go into a couple different places actually. We're going to go into Ecclesiastes 4 and 16, just to start off with, and then we'll follow that up with another scripture. Ecclesiastes 4 and 16. So the Most High says, there is no end of all the people, even of all that have been before them. They also that come after shall not rejoice in him. Surely this is also vanity and vexation of spirit. So the Lord letting you know right here. So the people that were here before, they're still here. So all the judgments and the prophecies are going to be, they're not going to go into saying the so-called Caucasian white man or the so-called African man or of Ham, because our people were taken off of the coast of Africa, but we are not Hamitic, we are Shemitic. So there's a difference between the people of Ham and the people of Shem. So all skin folk ain't kin folk. So just because you got the similar character phenotypes, that doesn't mean that we are the same people, because all people initially were melanated races of people. And that's proven. So the so-called white man was the only people that are unmelanated. So, but let's go into the New Testament, because they say, things change. Even though the Lord said, Malachi 3 and 6, the Lord doesn't change. So the children of Israel are not consumed. So let's just keep this fluidly moving. Malachi 3 and 6. So Malachi 3 and 6. For I am the Lord, I change not, therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So that's when the Lord says in Ecclesiastes, he will not make an end to the people, because we will never be removed and die off. So there'll be no end to the people. But when you go into Romans, I believe it's 11, Salaki. This is Romans 11 and 1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid, for I am also an Israelite of the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. God hath not cast away his people, which he foreknew. What ye not what the scripture saith of Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, they have killed the prophets and digged down thine altars, and I'm left alone, and they seek my life. So he's letting you know right here that the Lord did not cast away the Israelites. So, and all the people that were before, they're still here because descendancy. So if I have a child and then my child has a child, and when I die, that doesn't mean I'm actually dying. My bloodline, my seed line, my people are still here. And that's how you form a nation. You have to progenitor, be a progenitor. So you have to be the father of a nation. Abraham was the father, Isaac was the father, and Jacob is the father of the Israelites. Those are the progenitors. That's the seed line. So now that you can see that the Israelites belong all the glory, all the beautiful blessings, the kingdom to come, but they do have stipulations. It's a contract. So the Lord said in Deuteronomy 20. I want to go to Deuteronomy 29. So the Lord told us to do to keep this law, to keep his commandments. In Deuteronomy 29 and 9, it says, keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do. But we didn't keep the words of the covenant. And so the Lord said, if we weren't to keep the covenant, then there would be a couple of stipulations. And let's get into Deuteronomy 28, where we can get into a better understanding the words of the covenant. And he said in Deuteronomy 28 and 1, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations on earth. So just on this statement alone, you should see that it's a separative statement. The Lord isn't saying that if you believe in me as the Most High God, I'm going to put you above everybody. No, he's talking to the children of Israel. And he said that if y'all keep to the covenant that we made and to do all my commandments and listen to the voice of my words, which is the law, right? That he would put us above all nations on the earth. And there's 18 different nations, including there's 18 nations that are on the earth, and Israel's one. And then you have the so-called Edomites, Ishmaelites. Let's get an idea of the different nations, because these nations, like the Lord said, that they have not, there's no end to them. So if they were here then, they're here now. So, but just because you can change your name, that doesn't mean you can change your descendancy. Even if you can rewrite the directive and deceive the people, the Lord said that you're still going to be the same people. So if you can still claim that you come from Adam, that means that you have to also claim that you still come from your biblical nationality as well, because Adam progenited the people, the sons of Adam, which divide up to the different nations, right? And so basically, we can just get into we're just going to let's just keep it moving. Let's go into Deuteronomy 28 and okay, well, this is the stipulation. Salaki. Yeah, well, let's just look at the different nations real quick, just so we can get a list. And this is important too, so you can see that. Okay, two things. We see that the Lord said that this would be, if we would be blessed if we keep His commandments, and He will place us above all the nations. And this is the children of Israel. So the Lord did say that in Deuteronomy 7:6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, which is possessive. This is our God, not the God of the world, because He separates us above everybody. He separated. Holy means, if you look at the word holy, let's go to Deuteronomy. This is DEU 7. Okay, yeah. See, this is holy. Strong 69:17. It says Kadosh. It says they're holy. So let's see what it says. It says of God as separate, apart, and sacred, holy, meaning we're set apart, we're separate. So we are the Most High God's. He separated us from all the other nations of people and chose to make a covenant with us. And this is why, being an Israelite, you can't fake it. You can't, even if you wanted to reject and live as a heathen, you can still be you're an Israelite. You're just going to be counted as a heathen. You're going to live in a Gentile state of mind. You're going to be Hellenistic. You're going to take on the customs of your oppressors, and you're going to live in the function. So if you're an Israelite, and this doesn't make sense, but you can see it constantly. If you're a so-called Black, Hispanic, or Native American, and you wear anything American flag related, celebrate the 4th of July, you should be able to put that together and say, I'm wearing a flag, a nation of people that captured my people and put us in slavery here to build it up to the state and condition that it's in right now. And then I'm celebrating a holiday of the independence of this country from another country, but while we were in slavery still, they were celebrating their succession from their nation of people. So their nation just split into just a different segment, and so they called themselves, they're still the Edomites in Britain, but now they want to be the Edomites in America. They come and descend from the same people. Now they just don't get along, but their family and their bloodline is the people that comes from Britain. And you celebrating a flag and a holiday to celebrate your captivity, the destruction of your land, the destruction of your people, the killing of all the buffalo to starve you out, the disease, the sabotage, the broken treaties, the chattel slavery, the rape, rob, murder, free labor, the complete terroristic destruction of an entire nation of people that descend from the 12 tribes of Israel. So you're destroyed in all fashions, but the Lord said that would be something that would befall us if we did not keep his commandments. So let's follow that. He says, for thou art an holy people, means separate from all the other people on the earth, unto the Lord thy God, which is our God, meaning that that's not their God, that the Lord thy God has chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And as you see that the Lord said in Malachi, in the very last book of the Old Testament, he doesn't change just so we're not consumed. There's no, okay, the Lord made Israel jealous to replace them. There is no replacement theology. The Lord said that he was going to punish us to a point that we would be destroyed. And let's see what the Lord said. And so within that, now you understand that Israel is separate from all the nations, and even more so, we were supposed to keep the laws and to keep his word because it was served a very important purpose. So Deuteronomy 4 and 5 says, behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither you go to possess it. So no matter if you were an Israelite born in Japan, you're an Israelite born here in the American captivity, or in Africa, on the west coast of Africa, or in Mexico, or South America, or Canada, you're still an Israelite, and your descendancy, because you come from the people of Israel, not the so-called Israelis, the Israelites, because our forefather is Jacob. We were a nation, we were a people, a nation of people before we took over a landmass and named it that. The land of Canaan, we changed the name of that to Israel. But we were a nation of Israel because of our people. Our family, our bloodline comes from the progenitor Jacob. So he told us to keep this no matter where we go to in what land that we're living in. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear of all these things, statutes, and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. So you see how here it was instructions to let you know we were a tight nation. We were one people. I could see that no matter what land you were born in, we recognized each other as Israel. No matter if we never knew each other, we knew that if you descended from any of the 12 tribes, that we were the same people. And if we kept our laws, no matter what land we moved to, that they would say that we are the greatest nation of all the nations, because the Lord is a separatist. He chooses one people over another. That's racism. But the so-called white man took being like the Lord is racist, so he chooses the race, the ethnicity of Israel. So if you don't believe that to be true, watch this. Yeah, check this out. This is what they don't teach you in the church, but it's the truth. First Peter. Look what it says right here. First Peter 2 and 9. See, but you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. So as you can see, the Lord deals with nations. He is dealing with us as a race. And we are the chosen race from the Most High God, because he made us separate amongst all the nations, right? And as you can see, it says right here, but in King James Version as well, but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. And the light is the lamp, is the light is the law. So as you see, the reason why it's so important is that the Lord has chosen one people. And let me just get this last one, and then we can continue into the story, into the interview. Salaki. Let me go back into my right here. Actually, this is where. See? And the Lord said in Joel 2 and 27, and ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. So if you're stuck in this drug fanatic cult called Christianity, and you like to be brainwashed, you like to be lied to and deceived, that is the house of the devil. If you go to a church that do not read everything that they tell you out of the scriptures in context And if it's saying that you don't have to keep a law, it is not for only the children of Israel, they're lying to you. The Lord right here tells you he doesn't deal with anybody else. He said, I'm your God and none else. And if you're an Israelite, you should never be ashamed of that, because all the other people in the eyes of the Lord are counted as nothing. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 54, because we all do descend from Adam. So this is what the Lord says. And after these, Adam also, who thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. And the Lord did choose us. He chose Israel. He said, you're my holy people. I've set you apart, and I'm only dealing with you. You are the one that I gave the service of God, of the commandments, the laws, the promises, the covenants. And he said, all this I have spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes, which is the Israelites. As for the other people, the other nations, which also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing but like unto spittle, which is like spit, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, and if you drop a drop out of a bucket of your water bottle, you're not going to be like, oh no, my day is ruined because the sweat off of my water bottle outside dripped on the ground and I didn't get to drink every drop. The Lord said all the other nations are considered to be like a little drop that falls from a big bucket. So he has no regard for them. And he says that the Lord, and now, O Lord, behold, the heathen, everybody that's not a Israelite is a heathen, a non-Israelite, which have ever been reputed as nothing. And the Lord has always considered, if you're not an Israelite in the high God of Israel, you are nothing, and have begun to be lords over us and to devour us. And that is true. They have become lords over us and devoured us because we did not keep the commandments. Because as you can see, the Lord said in Deuteronomy 28 and 1, if we kept his commandments, that we would be blessed above all nations. So it's important to understand this book is delivered, and it's titled to a certain people. It's to us. So we are not above all nations. If you look, we were sold across the earth. We were still in the slums, and we're still in the captivity of those who took us into captivity, and we're captive bred and born in region and generational curses. We're getting shot to this day. We're impoverished. We're in trials and tribulations, and nobody cares about us. And we have stopped to even identifying with who we are. You can put a group of 5. Let's say you just keep it in the so-called black man of America. Put a group of so-called black men in America. Put 5 together, and then ask them all separately what they are, what their ethnicity is. They'll give you 5 different answers. So but they're the same people, but they will give you 5 different answers. That's how destroyed of people we are. But because this is where it gets important, but this is what the Lord said on the contract. He said we would be blessed if we kept it, but what would happen if we didn't? So he said, but it shall come to pass, Deuteronomy 28 and 15, but it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So now this is where it's going into the curses. So what would happen? So why did these curses befall us? Because we did not keep his commandments. And if we don't keep his commandments, that means we're sinning against the Most High God. We're going against our God. We're going against the will of our God. And the Most High God has said that this is what it is. This is what it means to sin. Whoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. Like Romans 9 and 4 says, the law was only given to the Israelites. So if the Israelites sin and go against transgress the law, this is what it says. For sin is the transgression of the law. So if we break any of the commandments that the Lord gave us, any of the 613 commandments, that we would transgress that law, that we would get a punishment for doing it, because we have a covenant with the Most High God. If another nation of people do abominable things, the Lord isn't gonna look at it the same, because they are not his children. He's regarded them as nothing. And look, Exodus 4 and 22. And this is because this is so important. It's because it's understood that if you have a child, and let's say your kid is playing with their friend, and they at your house, and let's say they break something at your house, you're not gonna beat your friend's kid, your kid's friend. You're gonna send them home and tell them you don't want to deal with them. But your kid, you're gonna take that out. You're gonna have to deal with that. So this is what the Lord said for on Exodus 4:22, and thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So we get punished by breaking the laws of God because we have agreed to this covenant, and the Lord looks at Israel as his firstborn son, which is Yahweh Shai. So the law is given to us. So that's why we get punished. And Deuteronomy 28:15 says that we do not hearken unto the voice of the Lord our God to observe to do all these commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And right now, as you can see, we're overtaken. So it still doesn't really declare how do you know that we're the Israelites. So when we go down to Deuteronomy 28:45, this is all necessary so we can kind of get the understanding and breakdown. Deuteronomy 28:45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee and shall pursue thee and overtake thee till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy God to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. So because we didn't keep that, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So the ancient Israelites that were in Egypt, how they got punished for slavery, how they went through so much bond, like you seen the things that they experienced in Egypt, that no matter if it was 2,000-3,000 years ago, that it still would, if we broke the commandments of God, we would still experience those forever. All those curses would come onto us to this day. And they're upon a certain people that have been worldly separated, and has been, the world has convinced us as the Israelites that we don't exist and we're different, and basically split us up with tribalism, so we don't know who we are. So we got a lot to go through, so let's get to it. This is how you're going to know that who the Israelites are, based off of these curses, and these curses would be a sign on us. So now we're going to get into the story, and you're going to see that these curses that apply to the slaves that were in the captivity in the Americas still are the curses that apply to you, and also in today's day and age. And also you can say that you know that these are your ancestors, and if they're your ancestors, that's the seed that you come from. So you are the one and the same people. Their blood runs through your veins, just like Moses and Yahweh Shai, which is the Jesus the Christ, who people ignorantly call that. His blood runs through our vein. So with that being said, let's go into it. This fifth interview, Salaki, this is going to be Julia Brown. She was interviewed in Atlanta, Georgia, interviewed by Geneva Tonsil at the age of 85. So let's read about her. I was born 4 miles from Commerce, Georgia, and was 13-year-old at surrender. I belonged to the Nash family. 3 old maid sisters. My mama belonged to the Nashes, and my papa belonged to General Burns. He was an officer in the war. There was 6 of us chillins: Lucy, Melvina, Johnny, Callie, Joe, and me. We didn't stay together long, as we was given out to different people. The Nashes didn't believe in selling slaves, and we was known as the niggers. They sold one once because the other slaves said they would kill him because he had a baby by his own daughter. So to keep him from being killed, they sold him. So let's go over this. Let's examine that. And so you see that they belong to this family, the Nash family. And let's see if the Lord said that we would do that. We would belong to somebody. So Deuteronomy 28:68 says, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again." And Egypt is synonymous with, we'll show you, when the Israelites were in Egypt, what were they doing? They weren't just hanging out. They was actually there initially for famine, but then something horrible happened to them while they were there. So this is what Egypt means in the Bible. The Bible defines this up. It says, "And Yahweh spake all the words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage." And another way of saying bondage is slavery. and slavery. So the Lord said He's gonna bring us back into slavery again with ships. Who went into slavery with ships? Let's see. Let's see. Who did who? Slave ships. Let's see. Slave ships. And let's see. Last Americas slave ship. Transatlantic slave trade. And who are these people on these ships? Who are these people right here? Do these look like the so-called white man? Look like the so-called white man, the dirty Edomite, got us and our forefathers on this boat, and our grandmamas and our grandfathers tied up like cattle with enjoyment, waiting to rape the men, ready to rape the children, rape the women, to take them as a spoil, to do as they will with them. And this is 100% facts. The French, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the English, the Dutch, the Swedish, all of the Irish, they all are Edomites. They all come from the same progenitor. They just like to change their names based off of the lands that they live in. And that's something, that's a sign to be able to pick them out and be able to show you who they are as a people, because that's what they naturally do. They don't like to take accountability for their actions, so they're the vagabond of the earth. So they have the spirit of Cain on them, the wicked of the earth. And if you're going to tell me that they're not the wicked of the earth, anybody that would do this to a people, a whole nation of people, and then lie to them, and then change the face of their Messiah and their God to look like them, to keep them in mental slavery after they have been broken physically, is the wicked of the earth. You know, and if you don't think so, that means you're more damaged than you recognize. You need more help than you realize. You need the doctrine of life, the scriptures. It's a lot. So that's literally what they have done to us as a people, destroyed us, because they've sold us in this fashion. But get back to it. By the way whereof I spake unto thee. So he said we weren't going to go back into Egypt. Thou shalt see it no more. So how did we get back to Egypt if we physically didn't go back to Egypt? Egypt is synonymous with slavery, and he said that they will be a sign on the people of Israel, the ones that are the children of the Most High God, that we would go into slavery by ship, and we wouldn't go back physically into Egypt, but we would go into a new Egypt, a spiritual Egypt. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies. And when we were when we were sold, who's the ones that are selling us? It says it right here: the French, the English, the Portuguese. They got our Native Americans and our Hispanic, so-called Hispanic and Native American brothers. They're the ones that sold them all over the earth, taught them Spanish, the conquistadors, the so-called Englishmen. That's why I speak English. I got an English last name, slave trademark on my back. You know, he said that we would be sold unto our enemies. So if you don't think that they're your enemies, the Lord said that these people are your enemies. Regardless of what you want to say, they're your enemies. These people right here, let's see if these people are your friends. See? Are these people your friends? Do they have your best interest at heart? To this day, do you feel like you would be comfortable walking around these people? With these people that are kids, got their kids out there, you know, they're proud. They're posting pictures. You know, they still in North Carolina marching, proud to hate your guts, because they wish they could hang you on a tree like they used to back in the old days. So when you look what they are carrying. These are the modern day Klansmen. These are what you call the new KKK. They're running around with this is the old colonial flag. They got the Confederate flags along with the American flags. You see what I'm saying? They want the old America so they can hang you. And look at this. This is them. They and they believe this all day. They yelling, they killing nigga. They hate you. But you think that these people are your friends? No, you're destroyed. These are no people that you should never trust thine enemy. Never be around these people because, like, they like to hide their true identity under these covers and cloaks. To this day, you got the damn Jakes from State Farm. Look. Not say that because what are these dudes wearing? This is like their traditional robes, sure. But look, they got modernized. This dude looks like a law enforcement officer. He has this, and look, they're just happy about it. They're the ones that look like emo, and you're the ones that at the bars drinking with you. They're part of the clan. They literally are yelling nigger. You know, running around. Look how these people look. They look how they dress. They're regular. They look like they blend. You let them blend right in with you, no thought. Because you trust your enemy. Because you just want to be accepted. This is what they meet on the woods like some creeps. Straight witchcraft. Straight sorcerers. They're disgusting. You know? But these are your enemies, the Lord said. And you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, slave man, bondwomen, slave women, and no man shall buy you. So to this day, we get gunned down and no nation of people help us. But let another nation get encroached on, then automatically they're getting retribution and systematic assistance. So, but within that, let's see. So this is what they said. They were sold, and that's how you know that they were owned. First off, that was a curse that the Lord said that would go through. So Deuteronomy 28 and 41. And thou shalt beget daughters and sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. So when you see that there's 6 children here, Callie Job, and they say wrong as we was given out to different people as playing upon tables. That would be a curse that would befall the children of Israel if they broke these commandments. And as you see that the Lord said as a curse that we would have sons and daughters, but we wouldn't even be able to enjoy them because they would go into captivity. So I want to get a book of James. This is the book of James. What's going on with that? The internet. See, the devil's trying to work against me, but the Lord won't let him take me out. There we go. See, James 1 and 8. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. And so as you see it, actually, you see, first off, it says, as we was given out to different people, the Nashes didn't believe in selling slaves, and we was known as the niggers. What did the Lord say? Deuteronomy 28 and 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. Anything that is outside of your God-given nationality, like Israelite. They'll be calling you nigger. They'll be calling you so-called black man. They'll call you so-called Hispanic, Dominican, Mexican. Any of those things that are not listed in the Bible among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. So if you're a so-called black man here, if you go to China, the Chinese man will call you nigger. In China. One word they know you understand that means that they know that is the utmost disrespectful thing that they can call you. Because they hate you. Because they know that you're the child of the Most High. So he just said we were known as the niggers. They sold one once because the other slaves said they would kill him because he had a baby by his own daughter. So to keep him from being killed, they sold him. So they said they don't sell them, but they just sold them. See, they're double-minded because that's just how these people are. These people are just wicked and just disgusting. Wicked. And Psalms. Look, check this out. Psalms. Psalms 44 and 14. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. So, you know, they just shake their head at us and call us you nigger. That's what they call us. Sirach 26 and 19. Sirach 26 and 19. My son, keep thy flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers. And so, initially when I read this, I thought that this was saying that he got removed because he slept with the slave owner's daughter. But reading it clearly, it definitely said that he slept with his own daughter, which that in itself was breaking the law of Leviticus, I believe. Give me one second. Leviticus 18 and 17. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, neither shalt thou take her son's daughter. No, that's not the one I'm looking. There it goes. That's a good. Which one is it? This nakedness of thy father shall cover. Yes. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother, and not uncover her nakedness. That would have. Actually, I want the one that was actually one I was thinking of. Yeah, either way, it says, you shall not cover the nakedness of your father or the mother. So there was an abomination committed right there. Sister, the daughter of thy father. It shouldn't be. Incest is not okay. The nakedness of daughter's daughter, even the nakedness that thou shalt not cover, for there is thine own nakedness. So it's an abomination. So that brother that did that should have been put to death, because that's just wicked altogether. That's wicked as can be. Keeping going. My mama died the year of surrender. I didn't fare well after her death. I had such a hard time. I was give to the Mitchell family. Cruel thing they could to me. I slept on the floor 9 years. That's a long time to sleep on the floor. Like no bed, no sheets, no comforter, no pillows. Just slept on the floor like your dog. Like you can buy your dog today on Amazon. You can get him a dog bed. I bet you're sleeping right on the dirt, on the hard floor. And I didn't fare well after her death. I had such a hard time. I slept on the floor 9 years, winter and summer, sick or well. I never wore anything but a cotton dress, a shimmy, and drawers, underwear. That women didn't care what happened to the niggers. So she would take us to church. We would walk to church house. I never went nowhere else. That woman took delight in calling slaves. I never went nowhere else. That woman took delight in calling slaves. She lashes with a cowhide whip. I had to shift for myself. So she had to make her own whip. This is what a cowhide whip is. A bull whip. These right here. These are what they were lashing, and if you actually use your own fingernail and you scratch yourself too hard, you can tear your skin and bleed, and but this is what they took pride and pleasure in beating us, as if these are instruments of cruelty. Because anybody to beat another human being with these with no remorse is this wicked. What's going on with this internet? Yeah, you see these? Made straight leather, and she had to make her own whip to be beat with. And let's see if that's a curse. Deuteronomy 28 and 29. And thou shalt grope at noonday, as I blind gropeth in darkness, prosper in thy ways. So no matter what, after her mother died, she still ain't got no ease off of her. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. So like she said, they enjoy. She was oppressed. She slept on the floor for 9 years, winter or sick or well, never wore nothing but a cotton dress, and the woman didn't care what happened to the niggas. Only oppressed, and nobody saved her. And she had to make her own bull whip. Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Let's see. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. So she only said she didn't have nothing. She couldn't get nothing. She only got what they gave her, which she wore was a cotton dress, a shimmy, and drawers. And that was all that she had every day. That's all she wore was that. And then she would get beat. So, you have to wash your same clothes. So what were they doing when they were having to wash all their clothes? Sitting around hiding naked, trying to, treating like animals. And then when they getting beat, they getting hit through they clothes with the whip, tearing their clothes, tearing their skin, they bleeding over their clothes. So a lot of the time when they would get whipped, they didn't have a lot of change of clothes, so they would have to put the same clothes on. So infection would set in, they couldn't clean the wounds, bleed onto the clothes, still have to work. They didn't get time off for 6 days or none of that. They got beat and had to man up. And these are all things that the so-called dirty white man did to us, did to our ancestors. and do to the people at the border right now. Look, check this out. They're still doing this to this day. Look at this. Border Patrol. This is today's time. Border Patrol agents. This is on the news. This is on MSNBC. This is modern. This isn't old times. This is what they were doing, running around with whips, chasing us, and this is at the border. You know? This is in Texas. This is where I live. They're doing this out on the Texas border control against the Haitian migrants. And Haitians are children of Israel too, the Caribbeans. I do not know what's going on with this internet. It's very upsetting to me, to be honest. Salaki, it ain't gonna get me out the spirit though. All praise to the Most High God. This is literally sickening. Look out here with lassos. So-called white man having a good time, looking like he's back in the Western days. Like he's just happy to beat a nigger again. See what I mean? And this is what they did then, and these are the same people now. So when you're saying that no, these ain't the same people, those people died off, we're not the same. No, these people got a big ass smile on their face, whipping our people. But because you're destroyed, you don't call it Haitian because you think you actually American. Nobody's actually American. Everybody knows that life began in the East and we came to the West. Nobody's from this place. This is named after Amerigo Vespucci, an Italian map maker, cartographer. This isn't anybody's descendants. There was no original people that created you to be an American. You were just kidnapped by these so-called dirty white men, beat and destroyed here, and your grandparents, great-great-grandparents had children. My great-grandfather was a slave. My grandfather was a child that lived with a former slave in the 1900s. 1906 was he born. My grandfather, not my great-grandfather, my actual mom's father. So it's not that far long ago. We still are just destroyed from technology, and these devices have warped and altered our understanding of time and importance of time. They remember, they're enjoying it because they can see us, that we're spoiled and robbed. And Israel's very simple. They're simple. How long would you love simplicity, you simple ones? That's our problems with Israel. Strange. The Lord says, He says, 1:22, how long ye simple ones will ye love simplicity and scorning, and fools hate knowledge? I'll give you 90% of the so-called Hispanic, black, so-called black and so-called natives. You start telling them the history of what's going on, they gonna say they don't care because they don't like the knowledge. Because if they get the true knowledge and understanding and hold the truth, they gotta hate the people they look up to. They gotta hate their God, the so-called white man, the so-called other nation, because they envy their oppressors. And the Lord said, do not envy thy oppressors. Proverbs 3:5. This is 3:21. The Lord said, envy 3:31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. So if he wants to remember 9/11 today, but you don't want to remember your tragedy, your quote unquote 9/11, the slavery captivity that your whole bloodline has been in since they brought us here, and you're still getting gunned down and beat and herded like cattle at the border to this day, but you're gonna remember the so-called white man's losses, 9/11, the Holocaust, but you won't remember your loss. You're broken and destroyed, man. There's something wrong with you. You are the best product at the so because you will serve the engine. You will keep this engine turning for them. You will keep them rich and keep your people oppressed. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from one end of the earth unto the other, and there shalt not, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So she even said that they had to go to church, and the only place they would go to church. And what do they teach you at church? Church. Let's see the church cross. Oh, look, wooden crosses everywhere. All these big ass wooden crosses. So this is when the Lord said you're gonna go serve wood or stone. He said you're gonna go serve these wooden crosses. And our forefathers, we don't do this because this is considered idolatry. We actually would tear down these things and burn them. But the so-called look who loves to do this. The so-called white man loves idols. They worship everything. They worship everything under the sun. The heathen are made at all these things. Look, they love this stuff. I'm not making this stuff up because these are the same people. The people that put your family and ancestors in slavery were Christians. The people who invented these religious sects, Baptists, Pentecost, Seventh-day Adventists, Mormons, they're so-called white people. And you worship their make-believe God that they created, and you worship their white Jesus that they made, even though the Holy Scriptures say that Yahushua was a black man. It's always good to see this. You should wake up every day and read this scripture so you can rebuild your self-confidence as a people. Revelation 1 and it was 14. His heads and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. Let's see, just so we can see something worth it. Burnt brass. What color? I wonder if it looks like a so-called white man, or oh damn, this is burnt brass. So Yahushua, aka Jesus the Christ, was this dark with woolly hair, like woolly hair, like my hair was darker than me. Oh, it looked like the original pictures of Yahushua. It looked like these are the ones that are in Russia and in Europe right now. Man, I don't know why this internet is so slow. But look, these are the original photos of the apostles and Yahushua, which the world calls Jesus Christ, because J wasn't invented till what, the 1600s, 1700s. They were all this way until the Renaissance period, until the rebirth, the whitewashing, iconoclasm, when the so-called European man went through and broke the noses off all the Egyptian statues, and just so that you can not really, because if you remove a major feature of the nose, you kind of lose context. If you really can't tell, you can make up a story and say it could potentially be this or this. But why is it coincidentally that all statues that were of melanated people, that their face, the noses are all destroyed? Why are these pictures of the original artwork of the Messiah, Mashiach, are just as the scriptures described, burnt as the brass, and all the images of the so-called people in the Bible, all the prophets, they're all so-called melanated people. Until after the Renaissance period, and when the so-called white man came out of the cave and started to take back over Europe and enslaving us, earth, and then he changed the history after he took our records. It's just funny, isn't it? But now you look at the Last Supper picture, then you'll see it where now they all look like they're so-called white men. That's really strange. That you're in Egypt building pyramids, but you're the so-called white man that need SP45. And they didn't have that last year. And then y'all die of skin cancer, where we get gold and brown and bronze, and we get fed the vitamin D out of the sun, where you get cancer. It's really strange. Oh, look at this. Isn't it? Look how coincidental this is. I just typed in burnt brass and look at the left. And it says a Hebrew Israelite. Wow, I didn't even type anything in. The Lord is literally, they say that the image of the Yahushua, his hair, his hairs on his head and his face were white like wool. He was burnt like a brass. Job 30:30, my skin is black on me. You know, our skin is black like an oven. Lamentations 5:10. You know, what made Yahushua family think that they could go to Egypt and blend in? How can Yahushua go to Egypt, Jesus go to Egypt and blend in if he was a white man and in Egypt was all dark, heavy melanated people, the ancient Egyptians, not the Arabs that live there now, but the actual Egyptians, the Sudanese, the actual, you know, it just they lie so much that at this point they can't. If you just got to be a moron to keep believing the lies without any kind of sense of thinking, and to say, oh, it doesn't matter, that just shows that you are I love it. It's going around. You black. You a boot-licking ass coon Christian. You seriously are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and you hate your people. You hate yourself. You envy your oppressor so much that you're happily to hate yourself and your history, but you will remember theirs. It's disgusting. And as you see, it said that that we were scattered amongst all different people, all the nations. They didn't mind the slaves mating like we're animals, like we mate, like we don't have, you know, love or wives, and honorable marriage is honorable of all things. You know what I'm saying? What's that? Hebrews. That just upsets me that you see how they literally broke us so bad that we were considering our actions animalistic based off of the way they treated us, and then we look to them like we're getting a benefit from acting like they do. Hebrews 13:4. Marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. And so we didn't call ourselves mating. We were honorable. Marriage, you know, taking your wife is honorable. It wasn't like you hooking up two animals to produce some livestock. That's what chattel slavery is. They would literally take us and breed us like animals. You have a breeding. It didn't matter. They would even make you breed with your family, your mom. They'll put a bag over your head and make you go to work. It would be your sister, it could be your mother, whatever, just to produce another one of you guys. And that's disgusting. These people are gross. They would sit there and watch it, and a lot of times they would know that what they were doing, and they would get off on the fact that they would be putting you with your family. And after you do that, then they'll rape you, because they would get all excited, because they're disgusting, vile creatures. I gotta get it. The so-called white man is disgusting and vile to do that to our ancestors, and to act like it doesn't matter, to ignore it. You have to be insane. You have to be insane. Check this out. It says, Job 30:8. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were kicked off, and they were dwelling in the cliffs of the valley, in the caves of the earth. So that's why they look. Watch this. What do you think if I type in caveman? What is it gonna look like? A white man, a so-called white man, or a black man? Let's see. This looks like the damn Jesus that it makes everybody worship. This guy right here. This is why he believes everybody came from the caves like this. Look, this is what he thinks, because literally it's in the Bible. It says it right here. And to dwell in the cliffs, this is how you know. But now they that are younger than I have me in derision. I mean, they're ruling over me, whose father I would have disdained to have set with the dogs of my flock. So they wouldn't even. You do not even want them, because even to this day they have sex with animals. They like to do that. They're fighting for that. But the point is that they came. The so-called white man was in Mount Seir, and they dwelt in the cliffs of the valleys, in the caves of the earth, and in the rocks. And among the bushes, they braid. Braying is like, neighing, making weird animal grunts and stuff. They didn't have language. And the nettles, they were gathered together. Like nettles is like rats. They get in a big ass ball and they just roll around. What they call orgies. That's what they still like to do to this day. They were children of fools, yea, children of base men. They were viler than the earth. And now I am their song, yea, I'm their byword. It's crazy. You can't make this stuff up. You literally can't make this stuff up. But they wanted their niggers to marry only amongst them on their place. So they didn't want y'all leaving that plantation. They wanted you, if you had a sister there, you got to marry your sister. Because if that's the only woman that's there, you got to marry what's there. But they didn't allow them to mate with other slaves from other places. When the women had babies, they was treated kind and they let them stay in. We called it lay in, just about like they do now. We didn't go to no hospital as they do now. We just had our babies and granny to catch them. We didn't have all them pain easing medicines. The granny would put a rusty piece of tin or an axe under the mattress, and this would ease the pain. The granny put an axe under my mattress. This was to cut off the after pains, and it sure did too. We'd set up 5th day, and after the lay-in time was up, we was allowed to walk outdoors, and they told us to walk around the house just once and come in. This was to keep us from taking a lapse. That means disease. Now let's get this. Deuteronomy 7:3. Deuteronomy 7:3. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughters thou shalt not give unto his son, or his daughter take unto thy son. Yeah, so this is not the one that we were wanting, but Salaki, but it's just true. That's what they say. We should not be dealing with the other nations, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. So we went off. We started serving other gods. We started dealing with the other nations, taking them, giving our kids to them, mixing our holy seed with theirs, and the Lord got upset with that. And that was a sin against the Most High God, and one of the reasons why we ended up in captivity in the first place. Okay, Exodus 2 and 6 through 9. And when she had opened it and saw the child, and behold, the babe wept, and she had compassion on him, and said, This is one of the Hebrew children's. Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Go. And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, Take this child away and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages. And the woman took the child and nursed it. So when she's saying that they did her good, this is literally what the Egyptians did to our children before. That's what they did to Moses. They took him and laid, and then they got the Hebrew women acting like they care. I'm gonna take care of it, but the whole time they're your oppressor. You don't get no medicine. They got you out here with a rusty piece of tin. I don't know if you've had a child or not. I have. The last thing I want near my newborn is a rusty piece of tin coming out. Laying on an axe to ease the pain. That's not doing very well. But that's what we had, the conditions we had to deal with under the totalitarian reign of the so-called white man. Brutality. And to say that they were nice because the majority of the time, if they had a baby that next day, they would have to be out in that field picking more cotton. Shit. They might even, some of them probably even had the baby in the field, and then the so-called slave man come by and get the baby and toss it to the dogs because they don't want to deal with it no more. That's how cruel they were. That's how cruel they are. And check this out. If you didn't know, you see, and she said something very important. Genesis 3:16. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception, having babies. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and the desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And as you see, right now, when she was having that baby, it was pain. They didn't have nothing to ease the pain but an axe. And the Lord said that he was going to put the women into this condition because we sinned against the Most High God. Deuteronomy 28:59. Then the Lord will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continence, and sore sickness, and of long continence. So they had to get up and just take a walk so they wouldn't get this long sore continence taking a lapse. And that would be something that the Lord said they would befall them, because they was in horrible conditions, living in pigsties, living in dirty, filthy, rusty tin, the living with the animals, the outhouse, the pigs. That's how they got a lot of this technology for gynecology invented, was because they would get something called tetanus, and the so-called white man would go out and rape the women, sleep with the women, and didn't like the aromas from them being in those conditions, so they would experiment without medication and develop tools to opening the women's wombs up just to see what's in there, scraping on them, cutting it out, cutting them up, and it would say that they wouldn't give them medication because us Hebrews are stronger than any other people. This is all documented in the history and in medical history, medical science and discovery. They're proud of that. They're torturing us to develop their technology so they could rape us and with ease of use. Not to help the humanity, but to further their disgusting, perverted agendas. We wasn't allowed to go around and have pleasures as the folks does today. We had to have passes to go wherever we wanted. When we'd get out there was a bunch of white men called the patty rollers, sound like the popos, that come in and see if all us had passes. And hey, can I pull you over? Can I see your ID? Yeah, it's not a stopping ID state, but I just think that you're up to something, so I got the right to check your ID to see if who you are. They did that then. That was the original purpose of the police. And don't the police do that still to this day? And they find an unjust reason to try to illegally search and seizure you, break your Fourth Amendment constitutional right? Because they said the patty rollers, the popos, the police roll up on you and say, let me check your ID. How many brothers is dead right now because they were doing nothing wrong and they refused to ID? Proof is in the pudding. The same people are there to this day. And if they'd come in and see if all us had passes, and if they found any who didn't have a pass, he was whipped, give 50 or more lashes, and they'll count them lashes. 1, like take pride in it. 2, count them things out. And if they said 100, you got 100 lashes. Imagine, have you ever got hit 100 times for anything, let alone with a bullwhip? Come on now. There was something like the Ku Klux Klan. We was afraid to tell our masters about it. Didn't we just go through seeing pictures of these devils? Was this down here? The Ku Klux Klan. This is who was chasing them and checking for passes. This guy. This guy right here. This dirty Edomite right there. This dirty Edomite who runs this country. This guy right here. The one that loves his fellow Klansmen. These guys, yeah. And so when you're seeing it, that's a baby. Look. These are little kids. These are kids then, and they're grown up, so they're still having kids to this day. Look at this. This is modern. This isn't old time. This is brand new. Proud, got his baby in a white robe. Disgusting. We was afraid to tell our masters about the patty rollers because we was scared they'd whip us again. You damned if you do and damned if you don't. For we was told not to tell, that sing a little ditty. It went something like this. Run, nigga, run. The patty rollers will get you. Run, niggas, run. You better get away. We was afraid to go any place. Let's see if this is something that fell between the curses. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. Then they just said they was afraid to go any place, because if not, they might get whipped. Their life will hang. You know, they beat you to death. You know how many people die by whippings? Have you ever bleed out? They bleed out. Whip somebody with a bull whip. Let's see. Whipped slave. Look at this. This is the so-called white man counting it out. 1, the lash. 2, whip. This is what you call a whipping post. This is what they did to us. Then this is a slave whip. They call it slave whips. You see what I mean? This is what somebody. This is what our ancestors' backs look like. I want a nice large picture so we can get this. Look at this. 100. Let's see 100 whips like this at one sitting. You bleed out, man. You'll die. And then a lot of times they put my last interview. They'll put salt inside your wounds. Beat a man so bad, beat him to death. And countless slaves has been beat to death for no reason, just because the patty rollers wanted to check the ID. Doesn't that sound familiar? That you get shot by the police if you resist, just because you was walking and they just wanted to assert their white supremacy above you, minding your business as a free man, and you know you're not free. You're not free at all. Let's see, Deuteronomy 28 and 50. Did we finish that out? Yeah, let's go. 28 and 50. Keep these curses moving. A nation of fierce countenance which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. So it didn't matter if you were old or not. They would be beating you like this. They beat the woman. They beat the man. They beat the children. They beat everybody. Everybody got beat. Beat them, beat them, beat them. And they act like it's like not a big deal. This is a horrible act of atrocity from a people. And this type of stuff Esau does to himself. This is what they do to themselves. They beat themselves because they creeps. Nobody's over here beating Esau but Esau. This is what they say the ancient Egyptians look like. This is what Esau wants you to believe. That the so-called white man run around. Let a so-called white man go to the beach without sunscreen. You think that they just gonna be impervious to the sun? No, they're the red man. So-called red man. Look, you don't believe that they red men? Let's see what they call themselves. Redneck. These are rednecks. Why they call rednecks? What color is this dude? He's red. What color was Esau? Esau was red. The red man. Genesis 25 and 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 300 years old when she bare them. So Esau is the red man, the so-called white man. Jacob is the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American. We all look alike. We all the same people. Jacob had 4 wives. You know, babies from 4 women. So that's what's up. And that red, you want to know? It's like in Edom is what the Hebrew word, but there's not really one distinctive word for what color shade red until you go into like what is it? Genesis, Exodus, is it Genesis 35? Let's see, I think it's 35. Is it here? Or is it Exodus? I think it's Exodus 35. Yeah, and here we go. And ram skin dyed red, and badger skins. So they used to dye these ram skin with blood. So it was blood. This is the same red that they're trying to describe in Genesis, that they were blood red. He came out looking blood red, like these damn rednecks. And that's funny. They still call themselves the same thing that they came out as. And don't know other people in the world call themselves red. They tried to call the so-called Native American the red man, but these are the only people that was insulting. That was a derogatory byword, like nigger, to them. So our brothers in Gad. These people proudly call themselves rednecks. Redneck area. Look at this goof. Look at this damn loser. Redneck area, Kentucky. Same Klansmen, the Confederates. Look at this. These are damn Klansmen. Straight creeps. Why don't you see any so-called black or Hispanics called rednecks? This isn't exclusive. This is an exclusive people group. Look at this. Just disgusting. Just, what? Foolishness. These are all rednecks. Happily could be. Just look at them, red. Everyone, if this and they in the sun, this is what color they turn, red. They don't turn bronze. They can't stand. They turn like lobster. Look, red. That's what color they are. I don't see no white on this person. Just red. Red is his shirt. Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26 and 17. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies, that they that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth thee. So when you out here, they hate you. You gotta hate somebody just to be beating them. The Ku Klux Klan is a hate group that hates the so-called people of color. The Lord said that's a curse that would happen to a people. And no matter what, where you go, we was afraid to go any place. That's what the Lord said what would happen to you. Slaves was treated in most cases like cattle. Didn't we just talk about that? A man went about the country buying up slaves, like buying up cattle, and he was called a speculator. Then he'd sell them to the highest bidder. Oh, it was pitiful to see children taken from their mother's breasts, feeding, mothers sold, husbands sold from wives. One woman he was to buy had a baby, and of course the baby come before he bought her, and he wouldn't buy the baby. Said he hadn't bargained to buy the baby too, and he just wouldn't. So you just have a brand new baby, and look at these curses. No, I didn't bargain to buy that baby. I don't give a damn if it's yours. You're an animal, 3/5 of a human. So did the Lord say that would befall us? Let's see. The Lord said in Baruch. Baruch 4 and 6. Ye were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved Yahweh to wrath, you were delivered unto the enemies. You see what I'm saying? So we were sold to these nations, but not to destroy. So when you're like, why would God do that? Because that's a punishment. Because for ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils and not Yahweh. So when we are still celebrating these heathen activities, Thanksgivings, Christmas, sacrificing to devils, worshiping the so-called white man, trying to internalize and being like him, you are literally sacrificing to devils. So that's why the Lord put us in that condition. That's why we're in this condition in our world today, because we went off and broke the commandments of the Most High God. First Maccabees 3:41. And the merchants of the country, hearing the fame of them, which is the Israelites, took silver and gold very much with servants, and came into the camp to buy the children of Israel for slaves. And power also of Syria and then the land of the Philistines joined themselves unto them. And all the nations do this. They all heard about how much and how great and how strong we are, and they all came with their money to the sales auctions, and bought the children of Israel for slaves. What other nation in history have been done like that other than the so-called native Hispanics and so-called black people? We are the children of Israel, and everybody is trying to silence that truth because they know, if they know who they've been and offended and done, they know that they have the true judgment that is written to come, and they don't want to face the music. Our people don't even want to face the music that we're the children of Israel, because they don't want to turn against the only master and God they know, which is the so-called other nations. So-called primarily in the States, the so-called white man, because they're the ones that are ruling the world right now. Deuteronomy 28 and 32. Deuteronomy 28 and 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fell with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. So what did he say? One woman had a baby, and of course the baby come before he bought her, and he wouldn't buy the baby. Said he hadn't bargained to buy the baby too, and he just wouldn't. So the mother didn't have no power in her hand. The baby was still feeding off the mother's breast. So it says right here, mothers sold, husbands sold from wives, and there was no might in your hand, just like the curses. What other nation of people, which is very important to understand, it does matter. What other nation of people has been through these atrocities by the hand of the nation of people that they love, and trying to bleach their hair to look like, get color contacts to look like, getting in marriages blindly to look like? Before I knew all this truth and understanding the word and kept these commandments, that's the first thing you got to understand. Keeping these commandments will give you the understanding, the wisdom and understanding. You don't keep these understanding, then all this will not, you're not going to hit the same, because that means you don't know the Most High God, and you don't know who you are. You're just only oppressed. You are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. My uncle was married, but he was owned by one master, and his wife was owned by another. He was allowed to visit his wife on Wednesday and Saturday, that the onlyest time he could get off. He went on Wednesday, and when he went back on Saturday, his wife had been bought by the speculator, and he never did know where she was. Deuteronomy 28 and 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. So when she was sold, I'm pretty positive that somebody else, either slave master, or she had to never knew where her husband was. She probably married again, meaning she lied with another man. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof. So all the labor and putting in all the effort to go and visit his wife, planting those seeds, trying to reap the benefits, he wouldn't even benefit because she was sold off, and he didn't even know where she went. These are curses that happen to our people. I worked hard always. You can't imagine what a hard time I had. I split rails like a man. And this is a woman. I used a huge glue, and an iron wedge drove into the wood with a maul. These are railroad spikes. This is what kind of people do this. This is what this woman was out there doing. She was out there like this with this big ass hammer she called a glute, driving them like a man. Huge iron wedge drove into the wood with the maul. So the woman was out here driving in, and now we use modern day machinery to do this, but she had to do it by hand, doing hard manual labor. Look at this. And now they do it for sport to see who's stronger. So-called redneck white man had slaves whipping them out there to do this. See this? I helped spin the cotton into thread for our clothes. The thread was made into big brooches. 4 brooches made 4 cuts, or 1 hank. After the thread was made, we used a loom to weave the cloth. We had no sewing machines, had to sew by hand. My mistress had a big silver bird, and she would always catch the clothes in the bird's bill, and this would hold it for her to sew. So she had a little setup for sewing. Deuteronomy 28:65. And among the nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall thy sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind. So that's the first thing she told you. I worked hard always. You can't even imagine of how hard of a time it was for her. So these things are not a joke. These are things that were hard, and all these curses were hitting all at the same time. These aren't like, you can say as people, oh, bad things happen to all people, but how many people have experienced all these same things at one time for hundreds of years consistently to this day, where CPS can come and take your kids, and the mothers can't got no might in their hands just because they don't see you being fit, like they have the right, but their kids, they're raising them to be school shooters. They're sleeping with their kids. They're getting molested in these churches that they go to, but they have the right to look at you and tell you as a mother and as a father, as a people of color, you can't raise your kids, so we're going to take them away from you and put them in a foster system so they can get abused and estranged from you and their nation of people. No other people does that but these so-called Edomites, these so-called white people. They're destructive. They're cancerous. Deuteronomy 28:33. And absolutely, I have an indignation for them, because I look at my people to this day and they're destroyed. They're destroying each other by mass volumes to this day, from music, from actions, from history. They don't even know who they are. They don't respect their people. They don't care to protect their people. And that's all because of all these things that have been done against us and destruction that has been targeted. This is terrorism against us. This is crimes against humanity that are still taking place because we're still in their captive possession. They have not relinquished us, and they still are responsible, and there's no statute of limitation for murder. And this was provided as a legitimate task to complete against us as a people by this federal government. So the government of this country is responsible for the actions of its citizens that invoked all of these things to happen to us as a people. So everybody that is involved, that has been passed down and has any inheritance, and has anybody who is in this land that comes from a colonizing background, is accomplice to all the crimes that were committed before. You're an accessory, and you will be held accountable. That's why when the Most High cracks open that sky and brings his son back, you guys will see that he will be pleading with the flesh, with fire and a sword. And that's the only way we're going to get out of here, because that was part of the curses too, that nobody, no matter how much we do, we can't do it for ourselves. The Lord said that he's going to do it for us. He's going to save us. And we have to wait for our time to be saved. And this is what it says. This is what the Lord said. So it's not the gospel is that he's coming to save the Israelites, and that's it. And if you're a greedy little people, you would be mad too that the Lord loves us and only us, and he's gonna punish you for what you've done to us. But this is what it says. Blessed be, this is Luke 1:68. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, not the God of the world, the God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, the Israelites, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us, the Israelites, in the house of his servant David. And he spoke by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. So this has been the same gospel and understanding from the very beginning of creation and time, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. See, salvation isn't a spiritual thing, it's a physical salvation, because there's people that hate us. Obviously, you can see the things that they've done. These people hate us, and we're in their possession to this day. These people hate us, and we're in these people's possession to this day. These dirty, disgusting, vile people. This guy right here is no different than this guy right here. This is the same damn devil. Look at him. He looks like a damn devil. Look at his deceitful ass smile. He cares. He does. His son is a damn crackhead. He put so many of our people in jail for crack, for lifetime sentences. For you would get minimum 5 years. Biden's drug laws. Yeah, when he was this is him when he was young. He was out here putting our people in prison. Fact sheet. Let's see. But drug costs. Of course, right now I'm not even gonna waste time on it. But that's the damn devil. But all I'm saying is this man. This is his son right now. Straight crackhead. Straight crackhead. Look at this dude. He's proud to be promoting this dope shit, but the same thing he put our people in prison for, now he's smiling in your face like the damn devil that it's okay. Look at this. Yeah. We're gonna legalize this drugs that we put y'all in for an ounce. Y'all got 10, 15, 20 years. Break your whole family, put these drugs in your community. Now we're gonna make it because we're making money off of it. Now it's cool. Like father, like son. Look at this. Devil and super devil. This is the super devil. He's a dumbass devil, but this is the super devil. Embarrassing. Never set another nation above thee. The Lord said that's a law. We can't vote for these fools. We should not be voting for our oppressors to be above us. That's madness. Why would you ever vote? Why would you vote to put somebody else on top of you? Yeah, voting is you're sinning when you're voting for somebody else. The Lord said, Deuteronomy 17:15, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy God shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. As long as I'm looking, I don't know, do we look side by side? Is this my brethren? Does this guy's face look like my face? Is this guy's face look like my face? Are we the same nation? No, from what I know is you guys are the same people. These are the same people that owned my people. These are slave owners. These are slave owners. This guy looks like this guy. This guy. Slave owners. Not my brothers. But the Lord said, do not place, from one of thy brethren shalt thou set king. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. And these people are not your brothers. Me and him would never get confused. Oh, that's your brother? No, no, no. That's obviously the so-called devil, your damn slave man owner. So when you vote and go into the polls to keep these people, keeping these people, the damn slave owners, look at these people. They look exactly the freaking same. No lie. Look at these faces. Look at this face right here. I guarantee you, looks just like one of these faces. Yeah. Just like these faces. George Washington. This is George Washington out here with some slaves, with his slaves. You guys are sickos thinking this is okay, bro. You guys are masochists. I didn't get to handle money when I was young. I worked for sun up to sundown. We never had overseers like some of the slaves. We was give so much work to do in a day, and if the white folks went off on a vacation, they would give us so much work to do while they was gone, and we better have all that done too when they come home. Deuteronomy 28 and 43. The stranger that is within thy gate, within thee, shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. See, so no matter what, they out here vacationing, and they living up their best life, and you working on the slave planters on the low. So these people weren't your brothers; these are strangers that are within thee. They got you in captivity. They got you in captivity, slaving away. So much work that you couldn't get rest. And that's a common theme. They would work you to death. Leviticus 26 and 19. And I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven as iron and your earth as brass. Literally, no matter what, it's a rock and a hard place. Your heaven you looking up is hard to deal with. You're going to have to be oppressed. Your earth that you standing on is nothing but hard. It's two hard places, hard metals. Same thing, slavery and bondage. So no matter which way you go, you're in a tough position. You're oppressed. It's hard. You can't get no rest. It's not comfortable. You're working unnecessarily in the roughest conditions with no remorse from these people. They do it intentionally. Intentional, man. They made me whole when I was a child, and I kept right up with the others, because they'd tell me that if I got behind, a runaway nigger would get me and split open my head and get the milk out in it. Of course, I didn't know then that weren't true. I believed everything they told me, and that made me work the harder. And our people still so dumb. It ain't true, but they still believe everything the so-called white man is telling them. Because our people are the same then, they're the same now. They're just in more destroyed places, because at least these people had a little bit more understanding of where their people came from. But now we don't know anything of where we came from, and we don't regard it. They don't consider it. Let's see. Deuteronomy 28 and 29. Let me see. 28, 28. And the Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. So when she's saying that she was afraid that, you know, that somebody, a runaway nigger, was gonna come up behind her and split her head open, she was freaking out. Because she believed everything, so she was like, you know, astonished. She had madness. She believed some crazy lies. Believed it with all her heart. Deuteronomy 28:37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations where the Lord shall lead thee. And you know they were laughing, having a good time, looking at them, being like, these niggas believe anything. This is so crazy. This is unbelievable. You can tell them that anything, and they're gonna get to working, because they simple. And they still do that to this day. You tell a so-called Jake, hey, this is X, Y, and Z, and it comes from the white man, they will not, they will believe it. Man, shit, that's a white man's book, and ain't nobody in this book white, except the devil, except the damn Edomites, and they're not the people that wrote the book. This is the book. The Holy Scriptures condemns them because of what they did then and what they're gonna do in the future and what they're doing now. They think everything that's prophesied, they're doing it to this day. So it's like I don't understand how our people are so simple. How they love to be around these damn devils. I would recommend to never be around them, to live amongst them, but to live and promote and love your people and only your people, because these are your enemies. Because at the drop of a hat, they will cut your throat. They will cut your throat and put you down, without a shadow of a doubt. Proverbs 12. Lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but they that deal truly are his delight. And the so-called white man has always been lying. That's what they do right now. Misdirection, propaganda. They lie to all the people for everything. But in this sense, they lied to the little girl, talking about there was somebody, a runaway nigga was going to split her head open and she got milk on her head, like she don't got a brain. That, but the Lord, that's why you know that these so-called white people are abominable, man. They're an abomination. They're liars. They're liars, and they pride themselves on their lies and deceit. And they only have their self-interest, their own interest at hand. And they will intimidate and instill fear into anybody who isn't of their people to benefit off of them. And this is Proverbs 14 and 15. The simple believeth every word, but the prudent man looketh well to his going. And because we were detached from our laws and understanding, we were not wise and understanding people. This is what the Lord said. Watch Psalms 19 and 17, 19 and 7. Check this out. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. But we didn't live by the laws. So that must mean that because we weren't keeping the laws of God, that we weren't wise. So that means that we were being simple. And you can see she believed every word, but now she got older, she can see that they were lying. Some of the white folk was very kind to their slaves. Some did not believe in slavery, and some freed them before the war and even give them land and homes. Some would give the niggers meal, lard, and like that. Exodus 12 and 35. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians, their slave owners, jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. So it wasn't that they were kind. The Lord allowed the Israelites to spoil their captors, just like they did before in history. He let us do it again. So when she's saying that some of them were nice, it wasn't that nice. That just the Lord put the Spirit on them to give to the children of Israel. He had mercy on some of us when he didn't have mercy on others. There was a white man, Mr. Jim, that was very mean to the slaves. He'd go around and beat them. He'd even go to the little homes, tear down the chimneys, and do all sorts of cruel things. The chimney was made of mud and straw and sticks. They was powerfully strong too. Mr. Jim was just a mean man, and when he died, we all said God got tired of Mr. Jim being so mean and killed him. Habakkuk 2 and 4. Habakkuk 2 and 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. See what they said, that this dude was so mean, and they were just like, yo, you know what? They believe by the faith that the Most High God got tired, so they faith the Most High, the faith they had in the Most High, they felt like killed this damn dirty old slave owner, so dirty old white man. And we go down to 6. Shall not all these take up a parable against him, and taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, destruction to him. How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. You see? So he tried to, protect himself and be extra firm against us and destroy him. But the Lord said, you took the children of Israel into captivity. They built up your house, they built up your temple, but now you're tearing down what they built up. So the Lord is going to get up with you. And that's all biblical. So yes, I want restitution for all. I want the so-called dirty white man to experience exactly what he's done to my people. And that is not, oh, you should let negative be negative. No, the Lord doesn't think like that either, because we're not the ones that have anything to apologize to them for. And this is what the Lord said, 2 Thessalonians 1 and 6. Seeing it is a righteous thing with Yahweh to recompense tribulation to them that trouble you. So just like they were not wrong to be happy that this man died, and was happy that the Lord killed them, because he was troubling them, and the Lord said it's a righteous thing to give them recompense to them that trouble thee. So you boot-looking ass coon Christians that kiss the boots of the so-called white man as he's stepping on your neck, and love them and say that it's hate for us to be upset against the atrocities that they commit against us, you are destroyed. You're destroyed. That's what the Lord said. He would put a yoke of iron on your neck until you be destroyed. And the Lord said, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee. That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. And to this day, look who's killing and shooting up everybody, running around the world, running crazy because of the wild children, the lawlessness of these people that are Christians. How is the world in such a horrible shape if Christianity is all love? And why isn't the whole world doing good? Because Christianity is the damn devil. It's lawless. It supports wickedness, idolatry, everything. It goes against everything that the Most High God has commanded the children of Israel. But the other nations have always been crooked and never have kept the precepts of the Most High God. Never. Never. Colossians. And as you can see, watch this. Just so I can show you that that's a very true statement. They've never kept the law. No other nation has ever kept the law. No other nation has ever had service to God. None of that. 2nd Ezra 3 and 36. Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen. So none of the heathens has ever been keeping the precepts of the Most High God, but us. So we're the only ones that get punished by it. We're the only ones that have been through these conditions, because we're the ones that have the covenant with the Most High God. When they laid him out on the cooling board, everybody was sitting round moaning over his death, And all of a sudden, Mr. Jim rolled off in the cooling board, such a running and getting out of that room you never saw. We said Mr. Jim was trying to run the niggers, and we was afraid to go about at night. I believe it then. Now that they's embalming, I know that must have been gas, and he was purging, for they didn't know nothing about embalming then. They didn't keep dead folks out in the ground long in them days. Deuteronomy 28:67. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. So they were freaking out, and they were just like, I don't know, I don't want to go outside, I don't want to be outside at night. Like, this is all the stuff that the Lord said would happen to us. We would be shaken by a leaf that falls. We would be freaking out over every little thing that befalls us. And this is what has happened to the children of Israel. This is facts. This is an interview under the government. This is a government, official United States government collection of interviews and confessions of crimes, that reports of crime, I would say, like police report crimes against them, and they just holding on to it with no significance or intentions to do anything about it. Why would they try themselves guilty and have to be sentenced to death, like the Lord said? Why would the so-called white man do this to himself? Revelation 13:9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. So if you say you're a saint and you believe in the Most High God, waiting patiently for him to return, this is what you're waiting on, to have who put us in slavery go into slavery, and who has been killing us with the sword to watch them die by the sword. Because that's the only way to clean up the land that's defiled by blood, is to do it by the blood that defiled it. And that's justice and righteousness. Okay, so let me get back to the point. So Joseph died being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So this is a custom of the Egyptians, embalming. So this is an ancient practice, right? But our people didn't really practice these types of things. This was something that was taught to us while we were in captivity. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of him, those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. So he was embalmed so he can be carried into his resting place without, spoiling in that aspect. Genesis 23:4. I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. So this was a custom we did. We'd get like a burial place. We'll jump down to 6. Well, we'll just continue. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying, Abraham is our forefather, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, saying unto him, Hear us, my Lord, that thou art a mighty prince among us, and this choice of sepulchres. Bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayest bury thy dead. So again, you see that nowhere in this is mentioning embalming. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. We'll go jump down to 9, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it to me for a possession of a burying place amongst you. So we used to buy sepulchres, like places to bury our dead. That's what Yahweh Shai, Jesus was put into a sepulcher, like, and that's where that big rock was placed over it. And let's go down to 20. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession and for a burying place by thy sons of Heth. So this is where we was wanted. This is how we buried our dead. Now let's go into Genesis 47. Genesis 47 and 29. And the time drew near that Israel must die, and he called his son Joseph and said unto him, if now I have found grace in thy sight, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt. So he didn't want to be buried there, right? But I will lie with my fathers, and thou shalt carry me out of Egypt and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou hast said. You see what I'm saying? So that's why they embalmed him, because his burying place was in the land of Heth, and they would have to transport him 40 days. So in order for him to not decompose on the trip, they embalmed him so he can get buried properly in his forefather's sepulcher. That was our custom. So just for the purpose of transporting the body, he practiced embalming. But other than that, we don't bury the dead. We bury the dead immediately. You know, once they die, like you're not to leave a body out hanging. Once it hangs, you bring them down and you bury them that day. See, doctors wasn't so plentiful then. They'd go around in buggies and on horses. Them that rode on horse had saddle pockets just filled with little bottles, and lots of them. He'd try one medicine, and if it didn't do no good, he'd try another until it did good. And when the doctor went to see a sick person, he'd stay right there until he was better. He didn't just come in and write a prescription for somebody to take to a drugstore. Leviticus 26. And 16. I will do this unto you. I will even appoint over you terror, consumption, and burning ague, that shall consume thy eyes and cause sorrow of heart, and ye shall sow your seed in vain, for your enemy shall eat it. So the Lord is the one that gives us these sicknesses and ailments. So when they're coming around just feeding us random medicines, it's because we live in these poor conditions and getting sick because of the conditions. We don't have hygiene. We don't have we're eating abominable foods. We're getting contaminated with filth. The Lord said he would put us in a low state. Jeremiah. Jeremiah 46 and 11. Go up into Gilead and take balm, O virgin, the daughter of Egypt. In vain shalt thou use many medicines, for thou shalt not be cured. And that's literally what's the deal is. So the Lord said, no matter what you taking, it ain't gonna help you none, because you under these curses. He's gonna smite you with all these diseases, just like the certain stuff that's going around right now. If you not living right, the Lord is gonna smite you with these consumptions of these diseases. He's gonna cause your health to go down, because you're breaking these commandments. You're living in sin. And that's a part of the agreement for us to be successful, is to keep these commandments. We used herbs a lot in them days. When a body had dropsy, was set him in a tippet bath made of mullein weed leaves. There was Jimson weed we used for rheumatism, and for asthma we would use tea made of chestnut leaves. We'd get the chestnut leaves, dry them in the sun just like tea leaves, and we wouldn't let them leaves get wet for nothing. in the world while they was drying, would poke collard roots, boil them, and then take some sugar and make a syrup. This was the best thing for asthma. It was known to cure it too. For colds and such, we used horehound, made candy out in it with brown sugar. We used a lot of rock candy and whiskey for colds too. They had a remedy that they used for consumption. Take dry cow manure, make a tea of this, and flavor it with mint and give it to the sick person. We didn't need many doctors then, for we didn't have so much sickness in them days, and naturally they didn't die so fast. Folks lived a long time then. They used a lot of peach tree leaves too for fever, and when their stomach got upset, would crush the leaves, pour water over them, and wouldn't let them drink any kind of water till they was better. I still believe in them old homemade medicines too, and I don't believe in so many doctors, because them doctors is damn witchcraft, man. They create a pill, tell you take this, it's for this, but it literally, one pill could be for blood pressure, and then it could give you a benefit for another reason that you don't really, we're not gonna go into on here, but just to let you know that, like she said, they'll give you medicine for this, medicine for that. They'll just give you stuff until something seems to work. But that's not what we used to do. We used to do things from the earth, because the Lord gave us the herbs for medicine. So let's go to we're going to go into Ezekiel. Yeah, Ezekiel 47. 47 and 12. Is that what I wanted? I don't know. That's not what I wanted. It's a lot. That's not what I wanted. Oh no. Mm-mm. There it is. Yeah. Oh, well, I guess it is. Yeah, it is it. Yeah, that is it. That's what I had. Uh, yeah. And by the river upon the bank thereof, on the side and on that side shall grow all trees for meat, whose leaves shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his months, because their waters they issued out of their sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be meat for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So that's literally how you know we're the children of Israel, because we were taught to use the leaves, chestnut leaves, tea leaves, mullein leaves as for medicine. And that's how we never use no doctors, because literally the apothecaries are people who make potions. Those are damn sorcerers, wizards, man. They give you potions to take to try to take away certain ailments, when the Lord said he gave us the leaves for medicine, the herbs for medicine. He gave us the fruit of the trees there for meat, and the leaves there for medicine. Ecclesiasticus 38. Ecclesiasticus 38 and 4. The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them. So if you wise, you're not going to hate being herbal. You're going to hate these damn pills that they popping down your system, these vaccines, and all these other just poisons that they putting in your body. But the Lord, everything that He said that could heal anything that we got going on, could come from the earth. Because that's what, we don't need synthetic stuff. We actually have the remedies through the leaves and the fruit that He gave us for meat. We didn't have stoves plentiful then, just ovens we set in the fireplace. I told her that many of armful of bark, good old hickory bark to cook with. We cooked light bread, both flour and corn. The yeast for this bread was made from hops, which is like beer. Coals of fire was put on top of the oven and under the bottom too. Everything was cooked on coals from a wood fire, coffee and all. The victuals was good in them days, the food. We got our vegetables out of the garden in season and didn't have all the hot house vegetables. There was a rack fitted in the fireplace to put pots on. Once there was a big pot sitting on the fire, just a boiling away with a big roast in it. As the water boiled, the meat turned over and over, coming up to the top and going down again. Old Sandy, the dog, that's a damn white name. I ain't never heard of it. So Edomite name, Old Sandy. The dog came into the kitchen. He sat there a while and watched the meat roll over and over in the pot, and all of a sudden, like, he grabbed at the meat and pulls it out the pot. Of course, he couldn't eat it because it was hot, and they got the meat before he eat it. That's just nasty. So they dogs just out there eating on the damn food. We're going to go Ezekiel 24 and 10. Ezekiel 24 and 10. Heap on wood, kindle the fire, consume the flesh, and spice it well, and let the bones be burned. So this is pretty standard, like the way you create a fire. That's how we did in the ancient days. So when the Lord was going to come and judge this place of Babylon, he likened it to setting and preparing like a feast, a meal. So just like they had to carry a heap of wood, all that hickory, kindle like that fire, cook that meat. You know what I mean? Spice it up well. That's pretty much our custom. That's why we cook the best. That's why everybody like our food. We know when we eat other nations' foods that sometimes that food is like, nah, I'm not really digging that. I don't really want to eat that. They don't have no flavor. I ate some food the other day. It was so bland and disgusting. It just made me sick to my stomach. Let's go Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23 and 17. And ye shall offer with bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock and 2 rams. They shall be for burnt offerings unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offering, even if an offering made by fire or a sweet savor unto the Lord. So like you see how we normally cook. We cook like we make homemade bread. We cook roast. But usually we would do this righteously and give sacrifice to the Lord when we do these types of things. But in our captivity, we have to give these offerings to the slave masters, and we have to prepare all this and bring them their burnt offerings. Now that's wicked. That's unrighteous. Deuteronomy 28 and 38. And thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in, for the locust shall consume them. So all this food that they doing and bringing out, they not able to enjoy none of this food. The locusts that the Lord considers like the other nations like locusts, because locusts will come and land on a crop and just like destroy it and eat it. But that's what they've done to the children of Israel. They've treated us like a crop, and they've consumed us. So we put out all this work. We did all this work. We built up America. We built up their nation. We built up their entertainment. We built up them and their image of what they are today. And they consume us and gun us down and tear us down on every level, as if we don't deserve the same respect and the same benefit from the work that we've done. And that's the wickedness of these people. They don't want us to succeed and grow. Ecclesiastes 2:5. I made gardens and orchards and planted trees in them of all kinds of fruits. So when you're seeing her, they're making good food. They're getting the vegetables out the gardens in season. So, but these are all, they're preparing this food. They're not preparing it for themselves though. They're preparing this for their masters. And as you can see, even the dog is getting in on the festivities and feeling like I can eat. But this is for them too, though. And this is a true statement. Even, the other nations, they know the business. Matthew 15:17. No, Salaki. (15 and 27). And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table. And so, that dog was trying to get them crumbs. He made his own crumb. He took the entree, and he was taking his master's food, but they didn't. If they had sense, they would have let them, do other things to their food and then put it back in the pot. Because, just make a little justification for justice for their conditions. Let's keep moving on. The kitchen was away from the big house, which is the slave master's house, so the victuals wasn't cooked and carried up. So the victuals was cooked and carried up to the house. I'd carried up myself. We couldn't eat all the different kinds of victuals the white folk eat. And one morning, when I was carrying the breakfast to the big house, we had waffles that was pretty golden brown and piping hot. They was a picture to look at, and I just couldn't keep from taking one. And that was the hardest waffle for me to eat before I got to the big house I ever saw. I just couldn't get rid of that waffle because my conscience whipped me so. So she felt guilty about eating a waffle that she had to pick the grain for. She had to prepare and cook for her slave masters, and she had to put in all the work and effort, and she was so destroyed that she felt guilty for eating that food because she was taught that it's all for her slave master. Just like right now, you feel guilty for holding the so-called white man accountable for what they've done to us because you believe that, that's the wrong thing to do. You should love and give over it. While you just keep allowing them to reap the benefits unjustly against you, as if they deserve all the things they got after destroying and doing just treacherous. They deserve a prison cell. They deserve the back of a machete, their neck. That's just the truth. It's not a way to be, I'm not trying to be over exaggeratory, but that's literally the case. Because that's the crimes against humanity right now. The so-called white man, you commit a crime, they can put you to death for being so horrible. But why can't you feel that they deserve the same thing for what they've done as a nation? Thine ox, this is Deuteronomy 28:31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. So all the food that they had, they used to raise all the cattle, raise all the animals, and slaughter the animals and kill them, but they weren't able to be able to eat of it. That's what she just said. Thine ass should be violently taken away before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue thee. So when they took us off the west coast of Africa, they didn't just only take us, they took all of our animals and livestock. That's how they built up the beef industry in America. They took our cattle that we had along with us, and we was riding the same boats, and we were living on the same bottom of the boat with all the animals that we had, and they brought them here, bred them, and now the beef industry is one of the most lucrative industries in America, assets that America has. But those all still belong to us, and we don't see any benefits from the meat department. We don't see any benefits from the cotton industry or sugarcane or tobacco or just property from our hands and our families building and getting $5-6 trillion worth of free labor out of us, forcible labor against our will, against the knife, against the life, our life being taken away, just because it's a thing they can do without accountability. So that's why these people are unrighteous. Proverbs 13 and 23. As Proverbs 13:23, much food is in the tillage of the poor, but there is that is destroyed for want of judgment. So, there's a lot of food that the poor gotta till. Like, they gotta put that field out there and then they gotta reap it. There's a lot of food that they get exposed to, but there that is destroyed. So then now mentally they're being so destroyed, they feel bad in their judgment for even eating any of that food, because they're destroyed, because they owe it to their master to give them everything on top of their blood, sweat, and tears, because that's how they've been raised and bred to do. Proverbs 6 and 30. You see, Proverbs 6 and 30. Men do not despise a thief if he steals to satisfy his soul when he is hungry. So, you shouldn't even be mad. You shouldn't even be feeling guilty because you're hungry. So you took a waffle that you made and you worked hard to prepare, do all the work to grow the food. It's not like she had to just go to the store. Like, they literally had to harvest this grain and grow it and put the seed down and till the earth and reap it and, grind it up and then make the meal. And they had to do all these things, and she feels guilty. But the Lord said she shouldn't feel guilty because she was hungry, And literally, you're stealing. They owe you for the labor, but, they're stealing from you. And you're getting crumbs of restitution just for trying to eat. They taught me to do everything. I used battling blocks and battling sticks to wash the clothes. We all did. The clothes was taken out of the water and put on the block and beat with the black battling stick, which was made like a paddle. On wash days, you could hear them battling sticks pounding every which way. We made our own soap, used old meat and grease, and poured over wood ashes, which was kept in a rack-like thing, and the water would drip through the ashes. This made strong lye. We used a lot of such lye to boil with. Lamentations 1 and 3. Judah is gone into captivity because of affliction and because of great servitude. She dwelleth among the heathen. She findeth no rest. All her persecutors overtook her between the straits. Judah is the tribe which is the Jews, us. The true Jews is in captivity and facing all this affliction. So working, not being able to eat, getting beat, getting sold, all the stuff that we're going through. And it's a great servitude. So we're always having to work and do this stuff against our will. And we're overtaken in between the straits, and there's nothing we can do. Nobody helps us, and we have to live amongst these heathens, and we don't ever find rest. We always have to work for everything extremely hard just to be broke, just to be oppressed in captivity. And now that we're so-called free, we're still working like that. We're always still oppressed just to make it, and still be anxious on our jobs and never know what's going on. First fire, last hired. Is this the curses that we live under? Cursed thou shall be in the field. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. And that's exactly what we are. We're cursing the city and in the field. Jeremiah 2 and 22. For though thou wash thee with nitrate and take thee much soap, yet the iniquity is marked before me, saith the Lord God. And I'm gonna tell you like this: they can wash all the damn slave masters' clothes with soap, but they still dirty, filthy people, and they cannot be clean just because they shave and wear business suits and try to look clean, and they still are just covering up all this iniquity and sin against the people of the Most High God, and us as descendants of the slaves. They still cover up their crimes against us. They still do these things and say that, you know what, who they gonna believe, you as a black or Hispanic, nigger, or me because I'm so-called white. Of course you ain't got a shot. If you guys are gonna go down because they're gonna believe me over you. So they're still filthy no matter if you clean them up or not. They're gonna always be filthy, and they have yet paid for their iniquity, but they will. Sometimes the slaves would run away. Their masters was mean to them that caused them to run away. Sometimes they would live in the caves. They got along all right, what with other people slipping things into them, and they steal hogs, which we shouldn't be touching. No swine. We're already going off, but we were desperate to eat chickens and anything else they could get their hands on. Some white people would help too, for there was some white people who didn't believe in slavery. So the Lord would send us victuals and do what He had to do for us at times. So we're gonna go to 2 Maccabees. Second Maccabees 6 and 9. And whosoever could not conform themselves to the matters of the Gentiles, which is the other nations, should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. So we didn't do what they wanted us to do the way they wanted us to do it. They would put us to death before, right? And this was in the Greek captivity. So check it out. And so we jump down to 11. And others that had run together into caves, what did they literally just say? That they would run away, that they would live in caves. That's literally what we'd have to do to flee from these people that were chasing us. We'd have to run and flee into caves nearby to keep the Sabbath day secretly. Just to keep the law, we would run away and go to a cave just to keep our Sabbath. Being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together because they made conscience to help themselves for the honor of the most sacred day. And when the enemy found them, they killed them. Just from trying to keep the law. And that's a curse. So 35 and 20. Mercy is seasonable in the time of affliction, as clouds of rain in the time of drought. So the Lord has mercy on us. He has the ability to have mercy on us. So He had some people bring us food when we were in time of need. So the Lord, and during our affliction, He can be merciful to us as well, as you can see. And this is why He does this for us. They would always try to find them slaves that run away, and if they was found, they'd be beat or sold to somebody else. My grandmother ran away from her master. She stayed in the woods, and she would wash her clothes in the branches. She used sand for soap. That's a tough life. You living using sand for soap, just to scrub and get that dirt off your stuff. See, and you can't tell us our people ain't resourceful. We're gonna make it, and we clean. Even when we free, we will find a way to clean up. We will use sand to wash our ass, but you can't get a damn Edomite today. They're dirty. They'll go months without bathing and act like they don't know what's wrong. Like, what? That's not normal? No, it's not normal. We would go to the forest using sand. But look at this, Deuteronomy 23 and 15. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee even among you in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates, where it liketh him best. Thou shalt not oppress him. So even if they did find out we were there, the law of the Lord said you shouldn't even deliver us back to the people who we ran away from. You shouldn't oppress us. You should actually help them out. Leviticus 26 and 38. And ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. As you see, where they're struggling, they were going through it. They have a hard time trying to survive. And no matter where they go, their enemies is the so-called white man. Anywhere they would find them, they would beat them, they would sell them, they would resell them to somebody else. They'd just get ate up no matter what. That's a saying that we say to ourselves. Like, you got to see the lingo in the Bible too. It sounds like us. It's like, bro, man, you get ate up, man. This is who talks like that. The so-called white man ain't like, oh yeah, you know what, you get ate up, bro. No, when he trying to sound like he got some flavor like us, he'll use our lingo, but the Holy Scriptures uses our lingo. I stayed with the Mitchells till Miss Hannah died. I even helped to lay her out. I didn't go to the graveyard though. I didn't have a home after she died, and I wandered from place to place, staying with a white family this time and then a nigger family the next time. I moved to Jackson County and stayed with a Mr. Frank Dowdy. I didn't stay there long though. Then I moved to Winder, Georgia. They called it Jug Tavern in them days because jugs was made there. So you see, no matter what, outside of slavery, they still had to be like forced oppression, like Mr. Frank. Like he deserved your respect. Leviticus 26. And Leviticus 26:39. And they that are left of you shall pine away in their iniquity in your enemy's land, and also the iniquities of their fathers shall they pine away with them. So after they died, they don't have nowhere to go, but they just left, and they got to just serve out that sentence there. They got to deal with it inside their enemy's land without any help from the enemy. They just going to have to make it. And this is literally the curses from Deuteronomy and Leviticus 26 that will befall us if we didn't keep the commandments of the Most High God. I married Green Hinton in Winder. Got along well after marrying him. He farmed for a living and made a good living for me and the 8 children, all born in Winder. The children's was grown nearly when he died and was able to help me with the smallest ones. I got along all right after his death and didn't have such a hard time raising the children's. Then I married Jim Brown and moved to Atlanta. Jim farmed at first for a living, and then he worked on the railroad, then the seaboard. He helped to grade the first railroad track for that line. He was a sand driver. Psalms. Psalms 14:7. Is this what I wanted? Yeah. Oh, that salvation of Israel will come out of Zion when the Lord bringeth back the captivity of his people. Jacob shall rejoice and Israel shall be glad. And she was happy after she got out of the whole slave captivity, and she had like a little family. She was rejoicing. She had a healthy family, 8 kids, long loving husband, you know. So she was happy. Even during her captivity, the Lord gave her some salvation and let her be fruitful in her captivity. Isaiah 22. Isaiah 22:17. Behold, the Lord will carry thee away with a mighty captivity, and it will surely cover thee. So he carried us into this captivity, but he still looked out for us inside of it. You know what I mean? He punished us, but not to the point where we're destroyed. He just made sure that we are getting our sentence, but he still is looking over us while we're inside the captivity. So you can see how she had the ability to kind of thrive and multiply. After he moved here, he bought this home. I lived here 20 years. Jim was killed on the railroad. He was coming in the railroad yard one day and stepped off the little engine they used for the workers' right in the path of the L&N train. He was cut up and crushed to pieces. He didn't have a sign of her head, even used a rake to get up the pieces they get it. A man brought a few pieces out here in a bundle, and I wouldn't even look at them. That's vile, man. Whew, that's got to be hard. Your dude's in a bag, Look, and ye in Deuteronomy 26 and 38, and ye shall perish among the heathen, and the land of your enemies shall eat you up. And her dude just working hard just ate up, just died, destroyed brutally. And then they raked the. How brutal is that? You know that they hated it, raked up her husband's remains, and gave her to her in a bag. That's just vile, man. I got a little money from the railroad, but the lawyer got most of it, the so-called dirty white man. He brought me a few dollars out and told me not to discuss it with anyone nor tell how much I got. I tried to get some of the men that worked with him to tell me just how it happened, but they wouldn't talk, and it was scandalous how them niggers held their peace and wouldn't tell me anything. The boss man came out later, but he didn't seem interested in it at all, so I got a little or nothing for his death. The lawyer got it for himself. Look at Leviticus 26 and 22. And I will also send wild beasts among you, which shall rob you of your children, and destroy your cattle, and make you few in number, and your highways shall be desolate. So these guys are beasts, man. The lawyer is a beast, feeding on this lady's misery, and robbing her, took all the money that was sued of these people for himself, and gave her pennies for the death of basically said her husband's death wasn't worth anything, and just took advantage of the situation just so he could capitalize monetarily. Isaiah 42 and 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none say restore. See, so as you see that the children of Israel would be taken advantage of, robbed and spoiled, and nobody's trying to help us. Even to this day, we're killed in the streets. Nobody's trying to help us. No nation sending us arms to fight against this government that know that the only reason we're in this country from history is that they stole us. They stole our ancestors. But that's not what's going on. So we're still, like our ancestors in slavery, being robbed and spoiled. We're getting robbed and spoiled in this day today also. Jeremiah 13 and 16. But it's all good though, because the Lord is just, and he doesn't believe in unjust balances. So Jeremiah 30 and 16. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and they that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. So the Lord's going to give us back the ability to take all the nations who have put us in captivity, which is all the nations who have robbed us every day. Look, they take advantage of our jobs, our money, living conditions. They put, like, I got charged an extra couple $100 just for moving in because the so-called Ishmaelite knew I needed the position of this house. So he basically applied usury on me just so, but that's what they do to us. They take advantage because we're robbed and spoiled and we have no might in our hands. So either we get with it or we're asked out. But let's just go. But I want to end off on this though. This is what I want to end up on. Isaiah 5 and 13. Therefore my people are gone into captivity, because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst. So right now we still in the same captivity. Our forefathers, the same interview that we're listening to, the same people own us, and we're still in the same land as they are, that they were slaves. You know what I'm saying? And our honorable men, our heads, these leaders that we're supposed to be looking up to, like the so-called preacher, the so-called Jesse Jackson, all the people that's supposed to be our people, they're famished. They're dried up with thirst. They don't even care who we are. They just care about getting money from you and exploiting you like the damn oppressor does. They're not trying to lift you up. They're not trying to get us gathered back together to rise. They want us to stay down so they can take advantage of us. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory and their multitude and their pomp, and he that rejoices shall descend into it. So, it's basically getting worse and worse for us. And if you just getting bragging and just getting sucked into it, you're going to fall down. And the so-called white man is just lifted up and talked bad about us, and is made it seem as if this is the thing to do, to stomp us out. And the Lord said that you should descend into it. And the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But the Lord said that they're going to get everything that they got coming to them, and they're going to come back down, and they're going to get put in their place. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and Yahweh that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. So although we hear all these things being bad for us then and bad for us now, don't be discouraged. Keep these commandments, because the Lord said He gonna exalt. The Lord's gonna be exalted, because we're gonna be the light and be the ones to lift the Lord's voice up in the name of the Lord. And He's gonna send His Son back, and He's gonna bring us into that salvation. So don't be ashamed. Just keep these commandments, and know that the Lord's gonna get us up with that get back. So I really hope this was edifying, Israel. And I hope you were able to get like a better understanding of our ancestral history as Israelites. I want to say Kwame Sharala, Shalom.